My 30 male wife 37 female has asked me to unfriend my best friend for a false reason. Welcome to Ask and Reddit. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Enjoy. Okay, I need help and in the midst of this chaos at the moment. I've got a best friend who I see usually weekly. We've been good friends for quite some time. He's a great guy, we get along emotionally, intellectually, we are in a similar industry, and we both really care about being a good dad and a good husband. We have done one couple's date and my wife does not like them, but, and I don't mean this in a demeaning way, my wife doesn't like anyone that I like. Most of my friends I spend time with alone. One time, my best friend and I are having a beer or two, and this was when my wife and I were going through some shit, minor in the grand scheme. We were not having sex, and after the beer I was going to go and share with her how it made me feel. I had wrote down what it made me feel and was going to share it. At this moment, it naturally came up with my best friend that I was about to share this, and we talked through it. It was a very fruitful conversation where he corrected me on some of my logical flaws and probably refined what I was thinking. I went home that evening and shared with my wife. It went well and she was receptive. A day or two later she asked if I had talked to my best friend about this. I said I did and said it was very helpful. But, to my surprise, she got very upset. She felt it was not fair for me to share vulnerable feelings to someone outside our marriage, and that I was sharing things she didn't want me to and to a friend before her. I understood her point, was not upset, and apologized and said I shouldn't have shared it to him first. No problem. Since then, she has a hatred for him. I still hang out with him weekly, but she has expressed her hatred. Mostly because she inaccurately believes that we are maliciously bashing our wives, which is not accurate at all. He would be my go-to person if I was in a tough situation, as I believe we are in similar circumstances. I have corrected her thinking on this many times, but she still thinks it. Last Friday, we had a few couples over from our house. My best friend was on his way back into town with his wife and called. I told them to stop by for a drink. Well, he said he was coming at first, and then when they were 5 min away, said she ended up coming as well. I told the other couples they were joining us. They had all met many times without my wife, but my wife stood up, yelled, cried, slammed the door and left in tears. I understood his wife showing up was a bit of a surprise, but this was a loud reaction. I followed her inside for a minute, hugged her, said that I had no idea she was coming until right now, and she went to bed. My best friend and wife know loud and clear my wife hates them, although it has never been stated. I have stated she feels insecure around him because I shared my story above, but I know it is off-putting for them. My wife woke up the next day, invite the couples over again, minus my best friend and wife, and apologized for her reaction. Yesterday, my wife was speaking to her therapist, who she talks to weekly, and naturally my best friend came up. She left the meeting feeling upbeat, but said I have a number of questions to ask you about your best friend. Naturally, I figured they were about how I felt about her reaction on Friday, or how she treats them in general. And she doesn't often ask me my feelings, so I figured this was where we were going. I had cancelled my evening's plans and agreed to talk. Happily. I put my daughter to bed, and my wife put my son to bed. He takes a bit longer, and as she was laying with him I'm downstairs, she was looking on her phone. She noticed I had booked 3 days in a few weeks to go to a cottage with my best friend and a few other guys. We had talked about it a few times, which she didn't like the idea from the start, but she had obviously forgotten. She was upset and said, "Why don't you take the kids with you?" Which is logistically impossible. But the tone was loud and clear. She came downstairs. I asked if she wanted to talk. She said no and went upstairs. Then, about 30 min later, I got the text, "We should talk." I was in a good mood and it didn't matter either way. I came upstairs and sat down. She pulled out her list to talk through. Again, my assumption here is she's about to ask me how I feel about her reactions. But, here we go. Question 1. What do you like about your best friend? I was a bit surprised, and really, how does one answer that? I said he's smart, we care about the same things, we have fun together, we have deep conversations about a lot, we care about the same things, we want to be great business owners, great husbands, and great dads. That's about what I said. Her answer. That's not true, he doesn't like his wife. I mean, I didn't really know how to respond, as he does. But then it sort of unfolds. She's still got this idea that we bash our wives together, we don't, and that I am a little more rough in my speech via text, which she snooped through my texts. And I said that it's not fair that she judges someone she doesn't know and doesn't care to know. Her story is completely inaccurate, but she has no care to change it. So, I said I can't imagine we can get through this because he is a good friend of mine, and she has no care to know him or change the story. She cried, she got very upset, and without saying it, she essentially said she doesn't want me to be friends with him anymore. To which, I flipped the argument a bit. I said, that's fine, you can ask that. But, I think it is then okay that I say I don't want you to be friends with your best friend. I don't mind her best friend, but she's not someone I would be good friends with. She does turn a little schoolgirl-like and catty when they are around each other, but I don't care. She comes over often, she comes over with her husband, who is fine, but again, won't be a good friend of mine, and I don't care. And I said that if it was fair for her to ask me to not be friends with my good friend for a reason that is inaccurate, I should have the right to ask her to not be best friends with hers. I would never do that, but I asked her where my logic is flawed. She left, asked for room, cried downstairs for a while and came back to bed. I was still awake, went downstairs, fell asleep on the couch and moved upstairs eventually. We haven't spoken since and I won't see her until this evening. What do I do? Can you both meet with her therapist to discuss this? Maybe with them there to guide the conversation, it will help her understand that she's been misreading the situation. Other than that, I would tell her that you are willing to set some boundaries around spending time with him, but that you are not willing to completely cut someone you care about out of your life for a misunderstanding. If she insists, suggest marriage counseling. If she still insists, you'll have to choose between them, spoiler alert. You should choose the person who isn't making you choose. If you cave to her demands, you may very well find yourself cutting out all of your friends for some made-up reason. Piggybacking on that last point. The whole "you shouldn't have confidence" sounds like a massive red flag to me. She has no right to tell how he must process his emotions, and it's perfectly fine to have a neutral and external actor helping you deal with them. Plus, it takes place in a context where she doesn't like any of his friends, nor does she like him seeing them without her. This is extremely controlling and a textbook symptom of an abusive relationship. Damn, your spoiler alert got the hairs on my neck standing. True though. If you're in the US, you are legally allowed to call her therapist and leave the longest voicemail about everything that is bothering you. The therapist can't talk to you about her specifically, but you can talk to the therapist about her all you want. It only works one way. The practitioner cannot speak of the patient, but you can so let her know what's going on, so the therapist has the truth in front of her, instead of whatever your wife is feeding her in these sessions. Your wife is a psycho. Some of the people my husband hangs with? Fuck, I can't stand to be in the same room. Fr. However, I don't have to like them. I slap on a smile, I'm friendly and treat them with respect. Why? If they are important to my husband, I have no standing to go out of my way to make relationships difficult. If they are disrespectful of our relationship, yeah, they got to go. However, I expect husband to be the one to draw that line. If he didn't, then my beef isn't with the friend, it's with my spouse.